Good evening, and thanks for tuning in to Double Trouble on CTV Sports. I'm Grace Reeder.
And I'm Rachel Vigil, and as you can see, we're at a little bit of a different venue than our normal set.
We sure are. We're at the new on-campus stadium on CSU's campus. They played a game against Abilene Christian University on Saturday, and Rachel and I broke that down. Take a look. I'm Grace Reeder here for CTV Sports at Sony Lubick Field after the Abilene Christian University versus Colorado State University football game. Now the Rams handed ACU a hefty 38-10 loss in this one. Let's talk the good, the bad, and the Mountain West. For the good, on the defensive side, Jamal Hicks had 2 interceptions, was really reading the quarterback well in today's game. We'll need him to make big plays against Alabama next week. Now, on the offensive side, Nick Stevens had 337 yards. He had 3 touchdowns, and he even ran for 41 yards. You know, it was a good day for him. Now, Mike Bobo did a really good job of making sure that everyone on the team had an even number of carries. There weren't any receivers or rushers who had significantly more yards than others, and that's to preserve their top rushers and receivers for the Alabama game in this coming week, because that's certainly going to be a tough one against the #1 ranked college football team in the country. However, one of the players we saw who didn't get as much time as we thought was Rashad Bodie, who only got 4 carries, which was a surprise, especially leading into Alabama when you want to kind of spread the love on the field there. Another one of the bad aspects of this game was CSU's special teams. They had a punt which was blocked and then returned for a 16-yard touchdown by Abilene Christian University, and then they also had a muffed punt return within the 5. The sideline recovered that one, but you still can't make mistakes like that, especially against Abilene Christian University when you're going into Alabama next week. Now let's talk some Mountain West football. Fresno State went up against Alabama today, speaking of Alabama, and got handed a 41-10 loss. So that's a pretty significant loss there. And then Boise State goes up against Washington State University tonight. So that will certainly be an interesting game to watch as well. Washington State University is ranked 20th in the nation, so that'll be a good one to watch. For more Mountain West and CSU sports, check out our YouTube or thecollegian.com.
When you watch this team on tape, offensively, defensively, and special teams, it's probably the best coached football team that I've seen in a long time. So it's going to be a big challenge for us, one we're excited about and looking forward to. We got a lot of work to do, but it's going to be a huge challenge.
Well, we heard what Mike Bobo had to say about this upcoming game against Bama, but Rachel, what are you expecting?
You know, I'm hoping it's going to be a close game. The last time Alabama and CSU played, it almost came down to the 4th quarter. They were only down by 11 points, and that's not a ton, especially going against the #1 team. But I do think the backups for Alabama will come in some point.
Absolutely. I think that this game is going to be an absolute blowout. Being close to Alabama at all will be a victory for CSU. I think Nick Stevens is going to have the game of his life, and I also think that defense is going to have to play really tight. If they can't defend against CU's Phillip Lindsay, then I'm just not sure they're going to be able to hold off Alabama, but I guess we'll see, and we will report on that game the following Monday. But let's toss it back to that ACU game. So we're going to talk about the play of the game. Take a look. This week's play of the game goes to CSU's defense, who stopped a momentum-making play from ACU. The Rams stopped ACU from converting on 4th down, which would have given them their first points on the board.
Last week, I sat down with running back Izzy Matthews to talk about how he just became a CSU legend and about his icon. Every athlete wants to be legendary.
I don't think how large it is in the grand scheme of things has really settled in for me yet.
But running back Izzy Matthews never thought his name would be remembered for a 1-yard run.
It's going to be a great trivia question one day.
Matthews became the first Ram to ever score a touchdown at the new on-campus stadium.
It's an amazing feeling, an awesome honor. I said earlier in an interview that if they call my name on 1st and 1 on the 1-yard line, that I'm going to, do what I'm supposed to do. And I just think it's funny that's what ended up happening.
While Izzy just became legendary to Ram fans everywhere, his idol is an icon to millions.
Like, if you could just have one conversation with that guy, I'm sure it would change anyone's life.
Matthews' favorite athlete doesn't line up on the turf, but plays on the court.
My favorite basketball team's the Lakers, and he's literally been a Laker since the year I was born. Everything that man preaches about, waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, is something I believe in so strongly.
Number 24 for the Rams loves himself some number 24 Kobe Bryant. Matthews tweeted out, "If I could have a conversation with one athlete, it would be at Kobe Bryant."
You'd feel his presence just being there on the phone with him.
His idol had years to build his legacy. And for Matthews, this is just the beginning. Rachel Vigil, CTV. You know, honestly, I love sitting down with Izzy. He's such a great guy, and you could tell he loves Kobe Bryant. It was so much fun to sit down with him. It's fun to see him talk about some stuff off the field. Well, don't go away, because up next, we're going to talk some volleyball and soccer.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
In case you're just tuning in, you're watching Double Trouble on CTV Sports. The volleyball team had a busy weekend, having 2 games on Friday and 1 on Sunday. Tyler Patterson broke down those games on Friday.
I'm Tyler Patterson here inside Moby Arena, where I witnessed the Colorado State women's volleyball team defend home court in its first 2 matches in a 3-match tournament. The Rams took on the Ball State Cardinal earlier today and dropped the first set. However, the Rams went on to win the next 3, closing out the Cardinals 3-1. The Rams were led by Brianna Reynolds, who recorded 19 kills, and she was not alone, as Sansa Chismich and Jasmine Hanna both recorded double-digit kills. CSU knew that they would have to play better in their 6 p.m. contest against the Michigan Wolverines, who were coming in ranked 16th in the nation. The Rams would close out the Michigan Wolverines 3-0,
Welcome back from the break.
and this would be the second time within a week that the Rams have closed out a top 25 team in 3 sets. The Rams look forward to their contest against Idaho State on Sunday as they look to improve their record to 8-1 on the season. For more sports, head to thecollegian.com or CTV Channel 11 YouTube. I'm Tyler Patterson.
Well, Tyler Patterson certainly had a busy weekend because he was also at the soccer game on Sunday. Take a look at that game.
I'm Tyler Patterson here on the CSU women's soccer field, where the Colorado State Rams just defeated the North Dakota State Bison in a 5-1 match. Now, the Bison led the way early as Mallie O'Brien would score the first goal of the contest and put the Bison up 1-0 heading into halftime. The Rams would find their groove in the second half, though, as they would score 5 goals to roll the Bison 5-1 in today's contest. The Rams pick up their second win on the season, and they look forward to their next contest next Sunday against Kansas State as they travel to Manhattan, Kansas to take on the Wildcats.
Well, that's all from Rachel and I, but stay tuned because Tim McCall will be up next with Tim's Call, and then after the break, you'll get a look at world sports with the FOCO Sports Show. Don't go anywhere.
But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed. I've tried exercising. It just made me hungry for bacon. I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise? Not me. Me either. Really? So we're good? What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness. I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
Hello, sports fans. I am Tim McCall. This is Tim's Call. I am here to keep you updated with the most important and relevant sports news happening in the sporting world today. We're going to start off with some NFL news as there was a break in the legal case of Dallas Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott. Yesterday, federal judge Amos Mazant granted a request by the NFL Players Association for a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction in the case. Now, what does that mean? It means that Ezekiel Elliott is going to be eligible to play in Week 1, and he's going to be eligible for the foreseeable future going forward, because this ruling states that the NFL cannot enforce the 6-game suspension that was handed down by arbitrator Harold Henderson. Now, this ruling yesterday essentially claims that Ezekiel Elliott did not receive a fair hearing in his initial arbitration process when he got that initial 6-game suspension. That suspension stems from domestic violence allegations that have been brought forth by his ex-girlfriend. However, those allegations have yet to be proven true. Ezekiel Elliott was the NFL's leading rusher last year, and if he's going to be playing in every game this year, expect him to be right at the top of the NFL rushing leaderboards yet again, and expect him to carry the Cowboys into NFC playoff discussion. Now, in further NFL news, The Kansas City Chiefs shocked the world when they beat the New England Patriots 42-27 this past Thursday night in the NFL's first game of the season. The Patriots were leading heading into the fourth quarter, but wound up losing the game in what was Tom Brady's first career loss in a game that he entered the fourth quarter with the lead. However, it was not all Brady's fault. The Patriots defense gave up 42 points, which is the most points they've ever given up under head coach Bill Belichick. For the Kansas City Chiefs, it was all about rookie running back Kareem Hunt out of Toledo. The 6'1", 225-pound running back had a fantastic debut. As a matter of fact, his 246 total yards from scrimmage is the most that any NFL player has ever had in their debut. The Kansas City Chiefs being able to have success running the ball really opened up the passing game. Alex Smith, quarterback for the Chiefs, had 368 passing yards, which was a career high. Going forward for the Chiefs, if they want to stay successful, I think they need to continue to give Kareem Hunt a big workload. If that running game's successful, they're going to be able to open opportunities in the passing game, and Alex Game's going to continue to look great, just like he did on Thursday. On the other side of the ball for the Patriots, they have a lot of work moving forward if they want to continue to stay on top of the NFL totem pole. They need to make a lot of defensive adjustments and give up less points on a consistent basis. Now in NBA news, Cleveland Cavaliers newly acquired guard Isaiah Thomas, who is recovering from a torn labrum, may have some more serious injuries than originally thought. Thomas was acquired from the Boston Celtics in the Kyrie Irving blockbuster trade just last month. It was initially thought that he was going to be healthy for the beginning of the season and then that labrum would heal. However, The Athletic is now reporting earlier this week that a source close to Thomas is claiming that Thomas has loss of cartilage as well as arthritis in that hip, which is really limiting his ability to heal and dragging out the healing timeline. If he's not able to get healthy, he may not be able to play at the beginning of the season, and he may not be able to play going well into the season. It's really up in the air, and we don't know. All eyes are going to be on Thomas and the health of that hip as the NBA season creeps forward, and if he cannot get healthy, then the Cleveland Cavaliers may have a hard time repeating as Eastern Conference champions. Well, that's all the sports news I have for you today. This is Tim's Call. I am your host, Tim McCall, and I've had a great time talking to you. Have a great one, fans.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream, that I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly, just to come back in a new disguise and be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million.
Hello, sports fans. I am Tim McCall with CTV News. This is the FOCO Sports Show, where we're going to bring you some competitive banter about the most relevant topics in sports. We have a great panel that's very knowledgeable about sports, so let's get to meet them right now. Brian?
I'm Brian Buck, Director of Sports at KCSU.
I'm Eddie Hers, a football beat reporter for the Rocky Mountain Collegian.
I'm Nick Baker, a co-sports director at KCSU Radio.
And I'm Nick Romero, sports anchor for CTV.
So what we're going to do to begin this is we're going to talk about baseball, because the baseball season's winding down. Playoffs is right around the corner, and we want to know who's going to be in, who's going to be out. So, Brian, I know you've done a little bit of research. You know exactly where the teams stand right now. What can you tell us?
Well, first and foremost, we only have 3 true positions open to make the playoffs right now. 4 different teams have at least a 10-game lead in their respective divisions, and there's also the Yankees having their 1.5-game lead, but also one of those teams that has less than a 10-game difference between them and their divisional leader in the Red Sox. So there's really only 3 spots open, and that's your NL wild card spot, your NL Central spot, and your second AL wild card spot. So not a lot of motion that we're going to see. I think the key is for teams to be consistent. We've seen a lot of teams like the Indians and the Diamondbacks go on huge winning streaks, but both of them pretty much have spots secured up so far. So I don't think we're going to see a lot. One of the things I'm looking for is injuries. If that can greatly hamper a team down the stretch. And one thing we could easily see happen is the wrong player go down at the wrong time, or the right players come back. I got to start on the Seattle Mariners, who get King Felix Hernandez and James Paxton, who was on an AL Cy Young race before he went down with a shoulder injury. And they also have traded for Mike Leake from the Cardinals. He's 2-0. They could get some great pitching down the stretch.
Yeah, you mentioned the AL wildcard race. I really think that's the most intriguing race there is right now. It's an 8-team race right now. It's crazy. It's one of the best races we've seen in a while. I would say that the Yankees are going to lock up that top spot. I think there's no question about that. Gary Sanchez and that offense are not going to slow down. The second spot's more of a toss-up. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Twins. We know they've been hitting all year. They can hit the long ball. But the pitching has come together in the second half. I mean, Kyle Gibson, month of August at a 2.90 ERA. That was his best month of the season. Even Bartolo Colon, who was on the fringe of retirement with Atlanta, has come to Minnesota in 10 starts, 3.94 ERA and 5 wins. The pitching has come together. I know it's any team's race, but I really like Minnesota for that second spot.
Now, Bartolo Colon, he did come in earlier this season. He was with the Braves, where he had over a 7 ERA. For that reason, I just don't see him sustaining that success down the line. I'm going to go with the Angels. I think when you have the best player in baseball, Mike Trout, good things are going to happen. They're going to be able to pull away down the stretch. Now, what do you think, Nick?
In the AL, I completely agree. I completely agree with Eddie. That is, the Twins are streaking. They're hot. They've got lots of young talent, including Byron Buxton, someone I'm really excited about. Someone who can hit a home run, someone who can field well, and I'm just really excited to see how he continues that in the postseason, something he's never gotten the chance to do before.
Now we're going to go over to Nick Romero here. The NFL season kicked off just the other day on Thursday Night Football, where the Kansas City Chiefs destroyed the Patriots 42-27. Nick, what were your takeaways from that game, and what do you see for the NFL season going forward?
Tim, this game was absolutely insane. So many just crazy stats that were going on. So this was the first time that a team was able to come in and beat the Patriots while trailing going into the fourth quarter in the Tom Brady era, which is absolutely amazing. Also, this is the one and only time that a team was able to run up 537 yards in the Bill Belichick era, which is absolutely incredible. We had some great debuts from Kareem Hunt, though he did drop the ball in the first quarter, came back, 4 touchdowns, 17 carries for 148 yards together. Great debut for the young kid. I think he's going to be a big star in this league.
Yeah, and in addition to the rushing yards, he had 246 total yards from scrimmage. It was the most that any player has ever had in their NFL debut. He was fantastic. Them having success on the ground was really able to open up the passing game for Alex Smith. He had a career-high 368 yards, and the Kansas City Chiefs were able to roll. Brian, were you able to take anything else out of that game?
Well, I saw something from New England that I thought was really important to notice. We always say how this is a dynasty, this is a great team year in and year out, and they make a lot of plays and they have a lot of great talent. Well, one of the things they do really well is they get coached by Bill Belichick. And something I saw was really poor performance in clutch situations. They were 0-2 on fourth down. Both of those were 4th and 1 carries by Mike Gillislee, where he failed to gain any yards. Tom Brady was not good in the fourth quarter. They didn't get a single tackle for loss or QB hurry in the fourth quarter. After the Kansas City Chiefs took the lead, everything kind of stagnated for them. So while Bill Belichick is a great coach, he coaches these guys up right, eventually you have to have some talent. The running backs compiled for 3.5 yards per carry, and I think a lot of that goes to what the Kansas City Chiefs are. We've been talking about the Chiefs as the second in the AFC West behind the Raiders because everybody loves the Raiders this year, but the Chiefs might be one of the most complete teams in football. They've been one of the best on special teams for the last 3 years in a row, and they're complete at every single position. I don't think you could argue that Kansas City has a below average position group at any facet of the game, and when you're like that in the NFL, it's really easy to win games, especially come from behind and then hold leads late.
Yeah, and going back to Kareem Hunt, besides the 246 total yards, he also made 2 game-changing plays early in the fourth quarter. 78-yard catch and run to put the Chiefs up 28-27 for good. A couple minutes later, less than 5 minutes left, the Chiefs have the ball up 8, trying to end the game, trying to ice the Patriots. Kareem Hunt has a 54-yard run from scrimmage to put them near the red zone. I mean, that pretty much sealed the deal. I mean, his rookie debut, he was an impact player. Simple as that.
Now, Kareem Hunt was able to be an impact player because he has an NFL body. He's 6'1", 225, runs a 4.4, 540. This guy is big, he's fast. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to continue to ride Kareem Hunt as they move forward. Now, we're going to talk about some other football news. The Colorado State Rams are going to be facing the #1 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa next week. Nick, how do you think that's going to go, and what needs to happen for it to be considered a successful trip for the Rams?
Well, Tim, it's interesting. It's going to be a lot like the Abilene Christian game, but the odds are going to be flipped. We're going to see how CSU can compete in a higher level. And for me, while a win's, unlikely and not necessary whatsoever, I just want to see them compete, keep it within 20 points. I'd also like to see them limit the rush game and actually score some points against that top-tier defense. Show that Nick Stevens is the competitor that he is. Maybe get some highlight film of Michael Gallup, Nick Stevens competing against that top-tier NFL talent, and maybe improve their draft stock a little bit.
Nick, I gotta say, I completely disagree with you. There's no way CSU is gonna limit the Alabama running game. That is Alabama's strength when you talk about offense. When you talk about Bo Scarborough at 235 pounds at 6'2", Najee Harris, a 5-star recruit last season. They have too much talent at the running back position, and that doesn't even include their quarterback, Jalen Hurts, who's a great runner in and of himself. I think they have to prove that Jalen Hurts isn't the quarterback throwing the ball that we all projected. We have to show great coverage with our linebacker group, and we have to show that our secondary really has stepped up and that the last 2 weeks for CSU haven't necessarily been a fluke. I want to see at least 1 interception from the secondary, and I want to see at least 2 turnovers from this defense. On the offensive side of the ball, I do agree Nick Stevens has to show that he's a starter here. I don't know about numbers, I don't know about stats, I don't know about touchdowns, but he needs to complete the ball at a better than 60% rate, because this is an insanely good Alabama secondary. And if he has any chance of competing throughout the season, he has to show that he's a quarterback with poise, with accuracy, and that can play consistently. And the last but not least, Alabama front seven is a daunting task. These guys are massive. They're all NFL caliber players, so we can't expect a great running game. But Rashad Body, who's been insane the first 2 weeks, but hasn't quite gotten the same number of carries that guys like Dalen Dawkins or Izzy Matthews has, I want to see him get some touches. I want to see what he's capable of. And I want to see this running back group get touches in the right points. We've seen a lot of divided up carries throughout the season. The first 2 games, it seems like one guy will get his series. It's usually Dalen Dawkins gets 2 series, and then Izzy Matthews will get the next series, and Rashad Body will get a series here and there. I want to see Coach Bobo change that up a little bit and give guys the hot hand in the right position. We know Dalen Dawkins is great outside the tackles. We know Rashad Body is great inside the tackles, and we know Izzy Matthews is great when you need 2 yards. So let's see these guys get their touches in the right scenarios. It doesn't have to be one guy gets a series. I want to see them get the touches at the right time.
Now, I will say what I'm going to be looking for that Bama game, while I do agree that I think Nick Stevens is going to need to step up and play, it's going to be tough to keep it competitive for most of the game. And I think if you're down by a lot late in the game, why not get Colin Hill in there, get him some good looks? I think that's going to be one of the keys to this game. I want to see Colin Hill get some looks against the #1 ranked Alabama defense, probably the best competition he's ever going to play. Get him that exposure and prepare him for next year when Nick Stevens is gone.
I have to disagree with you, Tim. Colin Hill needs to take a redshirt year. He's got 3 years left on his docket. He's not going to get to play this year at a consistent amount. Unless Nick Stevens goes down, there's no reason why Colin Hill should be in a game playing football. He should take that year. He should use it for recruits that we have, like Jamal Houston, that we just got out of Louisiana, a 4-star wide receiver recruit. We got Preston Williams, the transfer from Tennessee. I want to see him use that time with those receivers instead of getting in time in a wasted year where he doesn't need to compete.
Eddie, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'm just going to go back to the last time CSU played Alabama in 2013. If you guys remember, Garrett Grayson, the quarterback. Forget the final 31-6 score. CSU actually had the ball with 12 minutes remaining, down 17-6. They had scored the last 6 points at that point. They had a chance to gain some momentum. Grayson fumbled the ball. It was all over from there. I remember watching that game, so connecting the two, I would love to see CSU within 10 points in the fourth quarter. They ended up losing by over 20, like we said, but the fact that they kept it competitive for over 3 quarters is really all you can ask for against a #1 ranked team.
Any way you look at it, I think if CSU doesn't get blown out next Saturday against Alabama, it's going to be viewed as a successful trip to Tuscaloosa.
The Colorado State football team had their 3rd game of the season Saturday against Abilene Christian, who is in the Southland Conference. The Rams beat the Wildcats 38-10. QB Nick Stevens was able to complete 25 of 40 passes for 337 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also had 1 interception on the day. Izzy Matthews, Dalen Dawkins, Michael Gallup, and Dietrich Clark all had touchdowns. Matthews even had his first receiving touchdown of his career. Now on the defensive side, Josh Watson has been making headlines as he has been the leading tackler in all 3 games. They recorded 7 tackles and 1.5 tackles for loss and 1 pass breakup. Looking ahead, the Rams head to Tuscaloosa this Saturday to face the #1 team in the SEC, Alabama. This is going to be a tough one considering Alabama already has 2 wins under their belt against Florida State and Fresno State. The last time CSU beat a team in the SEC was back in 1997. For coverage on this game, follow the CTV Twitter account. The volleyball team won the Colorado State volleyball tournament this weekend. Sonia Cheesemick was named the MVP of the tournament. The biggest win came from the sweep against number 16 Michigan on Friday. Cheesemick led the team with 13 kills and a hitting percentage of .500. Brianna Reynolds and Paulina Hogard Jensen also added 12 kills and 11 kills. After this weekend, Sonia Cheesemick was named Mountain West Offensive Player of the Week, and Paulina Hogard Jensen was named Defensive Player of the Week as well. Cheesemick had a total of 35 kills and a .415 attack percentage this weekend. The team also moved up 3 spots from number 25 to 22 on the ABCA coaches poll. The team will host the second CSU tournament starting this weekend before they enter into conference play. The Rams will play this Friday at 7 p.m. in Moby. The soccer team also had a pretty good weekend. Allie Murphy-Paletta was voted NCAA Women's Soccer Player of the Week. She earned this title after her first ever hat trick in program history last week. On Friday, the team played SIU Edwardsville and battled to a scoreless draw. CSU's goalkeeper Hunter Pfeiffer had 11 saves, which is a program record. CSU had 8 shots on goal and SIU had 11. But the team bounced right back on Sunday and beat North Dakota State 5-1. All 5 goals were scored in the second half. 2 of the goals came from freshman forward Carly Ehart. Ehart scored on a turnover in the 56th minute. Lexi Swenson, Kaylee Lordman, and Callie Clements contributed the other 3 goals. The team will travel to Kansas State this Sunday.
CSU football took on the Abilene Christian Wildcats at home this past Saturday and improved their record to 2-1 on the season. CSU honored its Aggie heritage by wearing the traditional Colorado A&M colors of pumpkin and alfalfa. The Rams offense came out on fire against ACU as they would finish the day with a blistering 605 total yards of offense. Senior quarterback Nick Stevens had a strong performance for the Rams as he completed 25 of 40 passes for 337 yards and 3 touchdowns with only 1 interception. Michael Gallup hauled in 10 of those completions for 103 yards and a touchdown. Dietrich Clark also had 6 catches for 67 yards and a score. The running back duo of Izzy Matthews and Dalen Dawkins also came up big in this one as they combined for 162 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Colorado State's defense did not allow a touchdown in this contest as Abilene Christian's only trip to the end zone came from a blocked punt that was returned for 6 points. The Rams would finish off the Wildcats 38-10 on Ag Day and improve to 8-0 when wearing their orange alternate uniforms. CSU hopes to carry its momentum into this Saturday's matchup against the #1 ranked team in the nation, the Alabama Crimson Tide. CSU travels back to Tuscaloosa for the first time since 2013 when the Rams were defeated 31-6 by then's #1 ranked team in the nation, the Alabama Crimson Tide. CSU's women volleyball hosted a tournament this weekend where they faced Ball State and the number 16th ranked Michigan Wolverines on Friday and then Idaho State on Sunday. The Rams dropped the first set of the tournament against Ball State but responded by winning every set after. CSU closed out Ball State 3-1 and would go on to sweep the number 16th ranked Michigan Wolverines in Friday night's matchup. This is the second time in a week that the Rams have defeated 2 top 25 teams in just 3 sets. The recent success has earned the Rams the number 22 ranking in the nation. CSU is now 8-1 on the season, and the Rams are currently riding an 8-game win streak. The Rams will host Albany 7 p.m. Friday at Moby Arena. After traveling to Edwardsville, Illinois on Friday, CSU women's soccer returned home Sunday to take on the North Dakota State Bison. The Rams trailed 1-0 at halftime, but would put on an offensive clinic in the second half, pouring on a season-high 5 goals. Callie Lordman tied the game in the 54th minute for CSU, and Carly Ehart would continue the slaughter for the Rams as she would score goals in both the 55th and 58th minute. CSU will travel to Manhattan, Kansas this Sunday to take on the Kansas State Wildcats in their last non-conference game of the season. The Rams will open up conference play Friday, September 22nd at Air Force.